Greetings and Happy New Year to all of you out there, especially my 429 subscribers, most of whom I hope are human beings, but I'm sure a good number of those are probably AI bot accounts. And I'm sure a lot of the comments on my various videos are from AI bot accounts as well. And that's what we're going to talk about in this blog. I'm going to go through some of these and see what we can learn from, because I find that, although I don't respond to a lot of comments on my pages, I do read them and I have some interesting insights sometimes, and I just like to share some of those with you. But before getting into that, I'd like to remind everyone that I do appreciate donations, and you can donate by going to buymeacoffee.com. There's a link in every description of pretty much all my videos. You can just click on there, or if you can't click, just cut and paste it. And you can donate as low as, I think it's $5 or more. And that's very much appreciated if you can afford it. I also want to direct your attention to my off-the-cuff episode 10, George Floyd. I think this was a very important video that a lot of people need to see, and it's getting very few views. And as you can see, a lot of my videos don't get very many views. But I think this one is getting less views because YouTube stamped an 18 plus, restriction on it, which I don't really think was necessary. I don't show the body cam footage. I show snippets from it. So there's nothing very graphic on there, but I would appreciate if you could watch it, and if you get something out of it, share it with people that you think maybe need to see it. Now, as we go through these comments, we're going to see that most of them were made in regards to Mark Lanegan, Cobain, and other mysteries. And what we're going to see is that there's actually a will out there on the internet to control the way people perceive Kurt Cobain's death. And because my video reveals that will pretty graphically, I'm getting attacked by bots who are trying to delegitimize what I'm saying. And we're going to see lots of examples of that. And this is one right here, this very first comment, which was posted 22 hours ago by Knows Not What It Means account, which I think this is a bot. I don't even think this is a person. Unbelievable how some people on here put credence in Tom Grant, but not in Mark Lanegan, who actually knew Kurt Cobain. Make it make sense. TG is a liar. Do the research. So, I read at least 2 books just to prepare for this blog here, this video here. I mean, I do lots of research, especially when I'm doing something that's kind of like an investigative reporting type thing, because I want to get it right. I want to back up. I want to say so-and-so is a liar or so-and-so isn't a liar, and then I want to have something to back it up. This is a typical, I'm right, you're wrong kind of comment that doesn't refer to any sources or anything. It just says, Tom Grant's a liar and Mark Lanegan tells the truth. I mean, Mark Lanegan calls himself a liar in his book. That's a big theme of his book, is the brutal honesty, and that's what people seem to like about it. It's you're supposed to love the brutal honesty, but you're not supposed to analyze it. 2 days ago, Sippin the Testis said, Mark was checking the drug houses for Kurt, but he was on dope for that whole era and seriously strung out. I think he just misremembers it through the drug fog. So this is almost not a direct quote, but it's very similar to quotes that Tom Grant made in the interview that I included in this video. So, I mean, I feel like this comment, it might be a real human, but it seems like the point of this comment is to provide damage control, make excuses for Mark Lanegan, why he crafted these really articulate lies in his book. So I feel like this is a damage control post. It's taking a different angle. Like this one's saying, I'm right, you're wrong. And this one's taking a more subtle approach, I think he was just strung out. Just misremembers stuff. Now, going mental with Evan 3 weeks ago said, I can't tell if the lecture you are posting is serious or a legendary troll. I went and watched the whole thing, and I still can't believe that someone would take this serious. I have never heard someone articulate such an empty and ridiculous word salad in a fashion disguised as edible substance. You can eat it if you want, but I suppose you can eat dirt too. I must give credit where it is due. Maybe it can reassure those living on Dunning-Kruger Island that the fine art of twisting something so stupid to sound smart is not dead or boring. Godspeed to anyone who takes it seriously. Now, I can't tell if this person is criticizing me for posting this or if they're just using this as an opportunity to criticize David Wynn Miller and his quantum syntax grammar system, because I only show David Wynn Miller talking for about 5 minutes in this video, and the rest of the video, the bulk of the video, is me analyzing that whole science and David Wynn Miller and what they're all up to. And at the end of it, I make it very clear where I stand, and I actually state in the video that I think this is probably some kind of psyop that was designed to beclown the quote-unquote patriot movement, the truthers. Because if you can attract naive minority of a certain movement and take them down this road that makes them look like clowns and makes them, can create a negative stereotype, that's very useful to individuals who don't want to be found out, you see? So I think this is part of an algorithm out on the internet that is designed to sort of play the voice of reason against the clown show that is quantum syntax grammar. I think they're a sort of good cop, bad cop relationship. David Wynn Miller or Russell J. Gould put out the videos that, make people go, what? That's ridiculous. And then the hero, level-headed individual comes in and goes, oh my God, what a clown. This is the kind of stuff they're into, you see? So we're creating stereotypes, we're creating opposing parties, but at the end of the day, you step back and it's just a fake fight that's designed to herd people into false categories that don't really exist in order to control whatever, movement they want to control that is a threat to the power structure. And here's another comment on the Mark Lanigan video. I think it's possible that Mark just wanted to attach himself to the story more, so he embellished some. Unfortunately, it makes me wonder how much other things were not exactly true in his book. I mean, an embellishment is one thing, but saying that you're standing in front of the greenhouse where Kurt died and you're knocking the cherry off your cigarette and here comes Tom Grant out of the house and Tom Grant didn't even see the greenhouse that you're standing in front of. I mean, those kind of details, that's not embellishment. That's inventing a whole story. That's just flat out inventing details out of nothing. And then this response doesn't even make any sense. I really don't think so. He was never proud of it and his heavy addiction. So a month ago, Epstein's rope said, she didn't kill Kurt. He did it just as he tried to do in Rome. If she tried to do it, Kurt would know himself. Kurt Cobain was a musician, not a politician. The police would know if he was murdered. They have no incentive to cover it up. Not to mention the note was clearly his own handwriting. They ruled it just as it was, a suicide and abandonment of his family. Addiction and responsibilities. It's that simple. Your parasocial obsession with Kurt Cobain is rotting your brains. Not everything is a conspiracy. Take off your tinfoil hats and touch reality. Now let's take a closer look at how this comment just systematically takes every popular viewpoint supporting Kurt's murder and takes the opposing point of view, which would be the mainstream narrative. She didn't kill Kurt. Okay, that's referring to Courtney Love. Courtney's own father wrote a whole book called Love Kills, which is about the fact that his own daughter was involved in her death. So, I mean, I'm not saying Hank Harrison is a reliable witness, but I mean, to take the position that it's absurd to imagine that Courtney was involved in Kurt's death is itself an absurd position. He did it just as he tried to do in Rome. Okay, so I talk about the Rome incident in this video and how it wasn't even called a suicide attempt till after Kurt died. And Tom Grant believes that that was not a suicide attempt, but Courtney's attempt on Kurt's life. So that's the narrative that this AI algorithm is battling right there. If she tried to do it, Kurt would know himself. Kurt Cobain was a musician, not a politician. Again, it's kind of an absurd suggestion to just say it as if just saying it like it's a fact. Like, I know it's a fact that Kurt would have known if Courtney tried to kill him in Rome. And since he didn't say anything publicly, then that proves that Courtney didn't try to kill him in Rome. The police would know if he was murdered. They have no incentive to cover it up. Not to mention the note was clearly his own handwriting. I mean, how do you know the police have no incentive to cover it up? And this thing about the note is totally ridiculous because the note is everywhere. You can see it yourself and anyone can look at it and see that the writing at the bottom looks different than the writing on the top. So again, this AI bot algorithm is just attacking all of the bullet points and circumstantial evidence leading towards murder, just systematically. On Off the Cuff episode 7, I talked about Andrew Wood, and this person, Nick X Play, said, Chris Cornell said Andy was girl crazy. He was aware that some thought he'd be gay, but he wasn't, according to his former roommate and close friend. It's from an interview for the Pearl Jam 20 documentary. It's a great film, highly recommended. And that's fine. I mean, I don't think anywhere in the video I claim that Andrew Wood is gay. In fact, I actually say in the video that I don't think he's gay. So I'm not sure, maybe this person isn't responding to me directly, but responding to what they feel like I'm insinuating. I'm definitely insinuating that Andy had an abusive childhood, or maybe that's the other video where I go over that. But I think that, Andy's sexuality was affected by his abusive childhood. He wore his mom's underwear and let people know about it. He told people, I'm wearing my mom's underwear. And he wore dresses, and he obviously tried to look like a woman. And these aren't criticisms. Even if he was gay, I wouldn't really care because I'm a fan of his music. But these couple blogs I did on Andrew Wood, I did make an attempt to sort of ask questions about his sexuality because I don't think that's something that gets talked about much. We're made to feel like we're putting him down by analyzing his sexuality. But I mean, he's putting it out there. He's an exhibitionist. He wants people to see him. He wants people to analyze him. So I mean, if you put yourself out there and you don't like people analyzing you, that's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot. Don't put yourself out there. Don't be flamboyant. If you only want the reactions that you prefer, then that's too bad because that ain't how the world works. And I'm a fan of Chris Cornell. I love Chris Cornell. And if he said Andrew Wood was girl crazy, I'm sure he was right. Anyhow, I don't think I've seen this documentary, 20, about Pearl Jam, so I'll probably check that out. So thanks for the recommendation there, Nick X Play. I think this is a real person, actually. And Colby Parker 69420 2 months ago commented on my Chris Cornell's Bodyguard 2020 interview post and said, "Get help, man. They let you have YouTube in the mental hospital?" So this might be a person who just decided they really didn't like what I was posting and they needed to prove their own sanity by trying to make me out to be completely insane, which is fine. If that helps you out, then good for you. But I think this might be a bot account. And this is a similar type post here from RCH6650 that posted on my Lanigan page. Lanigan video just said blah, blah, blah. And 3 months ago, Isle of View said, I think Lanigan embellished some of his accounts in the autobiography. Remember that other post comment that we talked about earlier where the guy used the word embellished? I don't know that a lot of these responses are from AI bot algorithms, but I highly suspect some of them are. And 3 months ago, Unmatrixed said about Off the Cuff episode 2, which was about the N-word, Richard Pryor was a Freemason. What if the N-word came from here? Niger or Niger, officially the Republic of the Niger, is a landlocked country in West Africa. Blah, blah, blah. Wikipedia entry. So, you know, I don't see how how that's really applicable. I'm not talking about in the video what the specific origin of the N-word is. I'm talking about the modern usage of the word in America and where that definition comes from. And you know, I've heard that Richard Pryor is a Freemason before. He may be, or I should say he may have been. He's dead now. But that doesn't change the fact of what the truth and what he says in the video. I play a little clip where Richard Pryor talks about how he went to Africa and how he noticed that nobody was calling each other the N-word. And he kind of had this revelation where he was like, wow, you know, we really got a problem in America. We're like dehumanizing each other by using this N-word. And the presumption there is that the N-word ultimately means black slave. It comes from the slave era in America, at least. So Richard Pryor is kind of acknowledging that. So, I mean, if Richard Pryor says something true, or at least true in his experience, I don't think it really makes a difference whether he's a Freemason or not. I mean, if Richard Pryor cooks up some pancakes and they taste really good, I don't think they're going to taste any different if he's a Freemason. You know what I mean? And Matthew Ramey 5677 said, El Duce, on my Mark Lanigan page. El Duce was the singer for the band The Mentors. They were a Seattle band. And he told Nick Broomfield, who's the director of the film Kurt and Courtney, that Courtney offered him money to whack Kurt Cobain. And then a couple weeks later, El Duce got hit by a train and died. Now, if you can't see the fishiness of that timing, you're an idiot. And she was 296 3 months ago said, your channel will grow. You have good content. YouTube is a full-time job. Some people put out 1 to 3 videos a day. It's to make money, but it's too much. That's how they end up in the algorithm. Most of it is stuff they cherry pick from other channels. That's true. In fact, I've seen that on Rumble a lot. There's these accounts with a huge number of followers. And I've even got friends that follow some of those channels, and they literally take content from other channels and cut it up into little bits and post it over and over. And I get it. You know, that's probably the smart way to go if you want to just have more followers and, you know, monetize your channel and make money. I've never been good at that stuff. I'm not on here to make money, although that would be nice. So you, as I said earlier, you can donate at the link provided in the description for buymeacoffee.com if you like. And then this individual says, oh, by the way, I'm not a bot. I mean, if anything, that makes me think more that you're a bot by saying that. But okay, you know, I don't really have an opinion either way whether this is a bot or not, but sounds genuine enough. So thank you for that. And that same individual commented, it looks like on my video, The Real Sgt. Pepper, said, I've heard others talk about Paul's death, but yours was the most thorough. Wow. Well, thank you for the compliment. The information in that video is pretty much all taken from the book, The Memoirs of Billy Shears. So, I mean, the hard part about that book is that there's just so much information in it. What I tried to do was take a unique angle and just stick with that one angle, basically concentrating only on the Sgt. Pepper album. So, you know, the work that I put in was consolidating the information. And that's what I do in a lot of videos where I have to read books and do research. It's a lot of it's zeroing in on specific information rather than just like, here's the whole thing and making the video, you know, 5 hours long or whatever it would need to be to cover everything. And Omar Prietoski 4 months ago said, damn, you really need to be stupid to think that Josh and Matt are a corporate push project. I mean, damn. Who's Matt? I'm not sure who he's talking about. Is he saying Mark? Does he mean Mark? I don't know. Josh Homme, I don't believe I ever said that I know that for a fact that he's a, you know, part of a corporate pushed, perhaps deep state entity. But I highly suspect that he is. And if I say that I highly suspect he is, and I provide a lot of evidence supporting that statement, and when I say evidence, I mean, you know, largely circumstantial. I don't have like some document that, you know, that shows Josh is a member of the CIA or something like that. I mean, I try to be very careful when I make statements like this, that I make it clear that, well, this is what I think and this is why I think it. But that's different than saying it is a fact that, so-and-so is a CIA agent or a Fed. So I try to make that distinction. I try to go out of my way to do it. And if people can't tell the difference between a fact that I'm stating and an opinion that I'm putting forth, then maybe they're stupid, or maybe they're a fake AI bot algorithm. And this person liked my video, The Queen's Reich, which I'm very proud of that video. I don't, this is the type of information that you just don't find anywhere. So I would highly recommend you watch that video if you're interested in the link between heavy metal and perhaps the deep state or government. And I use Queensryche in it as an example because, I've been a big fan of them for a long time, but I've long believed that there was some kind of political agenda behind what they're doing. And I go way into that in this video. And, as a Queensryche fan, I find it fascinating. I'm surprised more people aren't looking at this and commenting on it. But I appreciate that some people have. I talk about the record label EMI in this a lot. And that kind of got me going on a track that I'm still on now, that I'm going to probably tie into a future blog about the band Kraftwerk. So I'm not quite sure everything the point they're trying to make, but this point about taking Martin out of hiding to dip his toe in the water to see how he'd be received by people, I mean, I think that's valid. This interview with Martin Kirsten, a lot of people I didn't even know it came out until a couple of years after it was already out. So yeah, I think it was kind of slid out under the radar. So, detractors of the Cornell was murdered, theory could point to this interview and say, oh, see, he's talking to people. He's out there and he's not hiding, but it's just such a carefully crafted interview, completely written out and acted out and just so not natural, trying to look natural. It's just ridiculous. And Cynthia VTS said 5 months ago on the Mark Lanigan post, interesting video. LOL at all the personal attacks in the comments. Might be a sign you're onto something. I totally agree. As this video is getting the most attacks of anyone, of any of my other videos. And then this person had to take a dig and say, wow, you are really being nice. As if there's this whole group of people that just don't believe anything I'm putting forth in the Mark Lanigan. I think that if I do say so myself, I think the detective work I did on this was some of the best I've ever done. So, if someone's going to come in and sort of say, oh, that's just a bunch of tinfoil hat BS, unverified, whatever they want to say, these fake bots or whatever, they're really lame attempts to discredit what I'm saying there, because if you notice, none of them get into detail. None of them provide any backing for their statements. Like, I get into detail in my video. I provide information backing up the claims I make. These people that sort of stick their head in the room and go, you're dumb, you're stupid, like, what are they bringing to the table? They're just making statements without backing it up. I mean, that's what conspiracy theorists, nutcases, get accused of, right? They get accused of just saying things that aren't true and spreading falsities. Well, if I'm providing information backing up what I'm saying, then what are you going to bring to the table? When how are you going to show that you're better than a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist if you don't have anything backing what you're saying? The assumption is because you're on the quote-unquote right side of the popular narrative, somehow you're not held to the same standard as someone making contrary claims. You see how that works? And that's where groupthink and pack mentality become very dangerous, because you can hide in a pack and make absurd claims, but if you're all making the same claim, you don't have to provide any proof of what you're saying. And the other guy does when he's saying something contrary, because his is the quieter voice, you see? And Christopher Sullivan, 8009, says, you are real dope. Well, thank you for your contribution there, Mr. Fake Bot Algorithm. Nice hit piece on a dead man who can't defend himself. I actually replied to that and I said, nice blanket statement citing no examples. So again, what makes it a hit piece? Tell me what makes it a hit piece, and what does Mark Lanigan need to defend? I mean, I've shown very clearly, and I've brought lots of evidence to the table to demonstrate that Mark Lanigan blatantly lied about being at the greenhouse where Cobain supposedly killed himself with Tom Grant. I show that in great detail. I don't really know what Mark Lanigan's raised corpse would have to defend himself against that lie. I mean, he wouldn't really have anything. He could just say, well, Tom Grant doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, all he could really do is attack Tom Grant's credibility. I mean, look at the username here. I mean, that's a fake bot algorithm. That's not even a real person. I mean, it could be a person, but the person's obviously got clear orders. The account seems to be created just to post shit like this. And all these likes, I think a lot of the likes too are also fake accounts that are, see, the purpose of all this, and it's very logical, it makes a lot of sense, is to create a false perception and get a sort of pack mentality, just like I explained earlier. Create the false impression that there's a pack of people who think this is all bullshit, and of course Kurt Cobain killed himself, and of course everything Mark Lanigan said in his book is true, and they're hoping that naive people who aren't really thinking about and looking at all the details, they're hoping they can attract individuals who simply want to go with the pack, which is why it's so important to think for yourself. And that's a big, theme I hope that I promote in my blogs and videos. And 7 months ago, Jen Hill 88 said, "Your presentation of this particular letter is the most concise and transparent as I have heard to date. Any rational person should understand the presentation of this group as terroristic, fanatical, crazy, is simple mind-altering programming. Those pointing the conspiracy theorist's finger are actually the brainwashed. I am super excited to have stumbled upon your channel." Well, thank you, Jen Hill 88. I think you're probably a real person. And I would encourage people to watch this. If you've never heard of, I'll just say it, Q. I'll say it one time. If you've never heard of that whole quote-unquote conspiracy theory or whatever people were calling it a couple years ago, I would encourage you to watch this video, and I'll just give you a real objective point of view on what I believe it's all about. And this actually is a good primer for a more current video I did, an episode on the movie Leave the World Behind. So watch this and then go watch the off-the-cuff episode I did on the film Leave the World Behind. And I think there's a lot of very important information in there that some of you may not be aware of that, would be beneficial to you. 7 months ago, El Barbero 399 said, "You are out of your mind with those Courtney allegations. That junkie, if he was resurrected, would come on his knees to Courtney and apologize for what he did to them. All these things you are saying is simply slander, dude. Delete the video." Cobain did not like Nirvana. That was no secret. He did not like the albums and the vibe of the band comparing to Hole. He wanted to be in Hole. Courtney, another junkie, wanted to fix the marriage and get him clean because he was overdoing things. No one knows what happened after Rome in his brain. I had many friends who never recovered mentally from overdosing. Hence, he might have killed himself. That poor girl Courtney prayed out loud at night with him so he could love himself and recover. Just delete this shit. There's a certain consistency to it in the sense that it attacks any of the narratives, any of the suggestions that are contrary to the popular narrative, which is that Kurt Cobain supposedly killed himself. And the way the sentences go from topic to topic and the way they jump from sentence to sentence, it just doesn't quite sound like a human being. Courtney wanted to fix the marriage and get him clean. No. Courtney wanted to fix the marriage because she wanted his money. And she didn't want to get him clean, although, according to Tom Grant, Kurt wanted to get clean. Courtney was trying to give him drugs, you see? So it's just taking circumstantial evidence, all of it, that support the murder narrative, and just saying the opposite, just inverting it. That's all it's doing. That's why it doesn't make sense. That's why it sounds like a robot talking. And then we see the specific orders that were given to this particular robot algorithm. Delete this shit. If someone's spreading slander about you, they're saying, telling everyone you slept with your neighbor, but you really didn't, that's going to piss you off. And that might be a situation where you would go on there and say, "Hey, delete this shit, man. That ain't cool." Okay. But this whatever, L Barbero 399, they're telling me delete this shit twice. Look at that, delete the video. So I think that's literally, we're seeing the programming that's been fed into this algorithm. The goal of this algorithm is to get me to delete the video. And this guy, Progressive Left Press, said, "Hey Joe, I've only heard 13 minutes so far, but good stuff. I look forward to hearing the rest. Here's a film discussing what I believe was Cobain's murder, with Courtney assisting more powerful people." So, wow, that's real classy there, buddy. I haven't even watched your whole video yet, but go watch my video, and here's a link to it. So, this might be a real person. It could be a fake bot algorithm, actually specifically trying to redirect people somewhere else on my page. But I mean, just in a less conspiratorial level, I mean, it's kind of tacky to say, you pretend to compliment something someone's doing, but then immediately plug your own shit. You know what I mean? And on my video about Tommy, the Who, this person said, "Would it be possible for you to do a video on the death of Keith Moon? It seems to me like he was sacrificed like Chris Cornell." I'm on board with that. I would love to do a video about Keith Moon. There's a lot of people want to do a video. I'd like to do a blog about Mark Bowen and T-Rex. There's not enough hours in the day. But I'll tell you what, if someone wants to, donate some money and for a specific topic, I'm open to that, if you want me to do that. But in any case, I do appreciate suggestions, and I do encourage people to email me, tinfoilhatfashion@protonmail.com. Nigel Samford 7136 said, "Being biracial is a non-factor. When a mixed person is pulled over by the police, he's considered black. Despite Jussie doing what he did, he was still thoroughly punished. Black people don't get any slack for anything. Thomas Sowell is a sellout who kisses up to racists like you by ignoring the fact that white supremacy is a global systematic problem. It's funny how you say reparations is a can of worms, when the term reparations is used to fund other races and LGBT, all of whom are economically ahead of black people. Foreign black people from other countries do not descend from U.S. slavery. They have no stake or rightful claim to reparations. This is why they are held economically ahead of American black people and discriminate against American black people as if they were white. It's easy to quantify who the descendants of U.S. slavery are because their ancestry is the American South, and an immigrant black person's bloodline does not. Nice try, you racist. Funny how you won't do a video on white supremacy that still goes on to this day." First of all, I did do a video, a whole blog on white supremacy. In fact, one of my most researched topics was my 3-part blogs on the Bambatthery. And in part 3, I think it is, which is the only one I actually did a video on, goes way into white power. In fact, I read several books just for that blog. One of them, which I had to purchase, was the Encyclopedia of White Power. So you're wrong there, Nigel Samford. I did cover that. As far as all this other stuff that they're saying, I'm not going to go into that because, this person's calling me a racist, but giving no examples of how I'm racist. You catch that? I mean, all these rantings that they're going on, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Say what you want. Maybe some of it's thought-provoking. But, I mean, you're calling me a racist and giving no reasons why you think I'm a racist. I mean, give me a reason and maybe I'll respond. But if you're just going to rant and throw out accusations with nothing backing it, then whatever. This comment about biracial people, the assumption here with this post is that if you're mixed, if you're part black and part something else, you're always going to get considered black, that's of course not true, because someone can have a black parent and a white parent and end up looking a lot more black than white, and vice versa. Someone can come out looking a lot more white. So to say that police are always going to assume you're just black, they're only going to see a black person, I mean, I think the assumption there is that, first of all police are racist against black people, which is silly because some policemen are black. Are black police officers racist against biracial people and all black people? I mean, it's just, this probably isn't a human. It's probably another algorithm that has a problem with my take on racism within the Watchmen series, and some of the other stories that the mainstream pushed really hard, one of which was the Jesse Smollett story. You know, Jesse Smollett was caught participating in a fake racist hate crime against himself. He was saying that someone white was, I forgot the whole story, but he was caught, and he got a bunch of shit for it. And this person is like capitalizing the word punished as if, Jesse was unjustly punished. I mean, if you do something wrong and you get punished for it, you're not a victim, you're a criminal being brought to justice. That's just the way it works. So this is a popular theme in mainstream culture. We find that the controllers trying to divide and conquer, they're trying to foster the idea that accountability for crimes is that criminals are victims somehow. I mean, if you don't want accountability for your crimes, don't commit a crime. I mean, that's the only thing keeping a society lawful and keeping it from being totally chaotic is accountability. If there was no accountability for anything, people would be getting raped in the streets every day, you see? So, again, this is probably a fake artificial intelligence account and post. I'm mainly looking at the criticisms here because, I do appreciate the thoughtful posts that people make and complimenting what I do. I do appreciate that, but I learn more from the critical posts because, the process of trying to figure out whether they're human or not is often very educational. So that's why I'm focusing on those more than the positive comments. Anyway, that's pretty much every comment, I think. We'll return to the normal program starting next week.